guys, welcome to Chef Grace's Place. Today I'm really excited about the guest we have today. He goes by Mr. Mixer. Um, there we go. He has an incredible YouTube channel called Mr. Mixer, which shows you how to repair your own KitchenAid. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Carlene Chief for showing me his channel. She actually fixed her mixer using your channel. So
hey Carly, thank you so much. I'm sure you're gonna watch this, so thank you so much for spreading the word. I appreciate you.
Yep, Carlene and I go way back to Nutley High School, so it's always awesome when an old friend reaches.
Yeah,
you know.
of course, it's always nice. I honestly don't keep up with very many people from high school. I have a few friends. That's about it. I really don't have very many friends altogether, though. I'm a bad friend personally. Like, I have ADHD, and so I get so hyper focused on things that sometimes I just can't find the time to keep up with other people. Like, I'll go 2 months without texting my own parents sometimes, which I think about it and I'm like, dang, I need to like talk to them more often. Like, I feel bad. It's not that I don't care for people and that I don't love people, but sometimes I just get so focused on what I'm doing that I kind of let some things go to the wayside that I shouldn't. So
I think everyone does that, though. And I think good friends are like, you can not talk to them for like a year and then you just pick up where you left off.
Right. And those are the friends that I do have, the ones that, like, they'd give me the shirt off their back if I needed it, and I would do the same for them. But yeah, we all have our own lives, sometimes it's hard to keep up.
You got a new baby now, don't you?
I do. So little Finley, he'll be 10 months old on the 23rd, and I'll tell you, you see the bags under my eyes. This last week has been crazy. So my wife got a cold. Well, then he got the cold, but he's also teething as well. So for like the last 3 or 4 days, he's been running like a low-grade fever. Generally, all smiles. Like, he only yells at me when he wants food or he needs a diaper change or something. But the last week has just been, it's been crazy. He's been really, really clingy, and I'll tell you, it doesn't make it easy to get very much done. But it is a blessing to have him. I get to be a stay-at-home dad with him while I'm running the mixer business, and it's just, I don't know, it's really nice to be able to save on daycare, because that's expensive, but just get to watch my little guy grow up. Like, it's nice.
That's awesome. So how did you get started in the mixer business?
Oh, it's a funny story, and it started with being scorned, to be honest. So I am a very frugal guy. Like, I love to go to yard sales and auctions and things like that. And so I would go and just pick up random stuff. So I actually worked for an auction business for a long time. And so I just know the inherent value of things, because I've seen so many things sell that I just know what it's worth. So I would go to yard sales and I'll just buy random stuff that I get for a quarter and turn around and sell it for 20 or 30 bucks, And so I was doing that for a while after. So I was a paramedic for 5 years. And when we moved back to the Wichita area, I didn't have a job, and I knew I did not want to do paramedic stuff. And so I was just doing that. Like, that's all I was doing, was going to yard sales, flipping items, just to help make a little extra cash. Well, I had found a KitchenAid at a yard sale, and it was like it was an old Hobart style, old pre-solid state, and it was that that 1970s like pea green color that was just super popular in the 70s. It's making a comeback, and I don't know how I feel about it, because part of me likes it, but the other part of me is like, it just is not very appealing. But I picked it up. The lady swore it worked. She's like, yeah, it works. I was like, all right, 20 bucks. That's a steal. Like, I took it home, plugged it in.
Was it a forecourt or the one with the head that goes up and down?
Yeah, it was a tilt head one. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I got it home. It didn't work. I was a little upset about it. But like I said, I was a paramedic, and so we had a really weird schedule. So I would work 24-hour shifts. And so I would be on a day, off a day, on a day, off a day, on a day, and then I would get 4 days off in a row. And so it was nice. It was nice to have the time off. So in my time off, like I said, I went to yard sales. I did like stuff to make extra money. I decided I was going to learn how to fix it. And so I dove in. I found out there really was not very many great resources out there at all. And if there were, it was like there's a little bit of information over here, a little bit over here, a little down here, just not that great. And so I basically had to teach myself how to do it. I just took it apart and really just studied it and tried to figure out, what, okay, I see this piece does this, this does this, this does this, because they're not like overly complicated machines. And so I fixed it. I figured out what was wrong with it. I believe I had to put a new speed control plate on it. And I took that and I sold it. I was like, all right, hey, cool. I just made $100. I used that money to buy another broken one. And because I was like, hey, this is cool. I like doing that. So I did that. I fixed that. I sold that. And I was like, hey, this is pretty nice. So I did that for just a little while. And once I got my bearings and I felt like I was pretty competent at repairing them, I just started advertising. I'm like, shoot, if people are selling them broken, maybe there's people who have them laying around who are like, I don't want to part with this. I paid a bunch of money for it, but there's nowhere to get it fixed. I don't know what to do. So they throw it in the closet like everything else, which I don't blame them, because I do that as well sometimes. But yeah, I did. I just started advertising, and I won't say that it was easy. It took a while. I've really been like, for my LLC about, let's see, November of 2019.
Okay.
And I was fixing them as a hobby before that.
Yeah.
But
how many years have you been?
Oh, probably about 4 or 5 altogether. Yeah. And yeah, so really after I formed my LLC, that's when I really went like full tilt, just dove in. I wanted to learn everything I could about them. And next thing I know, I'm apparently the world expert. So it's funny how that happens. It blew my mind when I started blowing up on TikTok and YouTube. I was like, boom, mind blown.
I mean, I wish Carlene would have sent me your link like 2 weeks earlier, because I was trying to do my first ever Zoom class.
Right.
We were making cinnamon buns, and I had the cream cheese frosting in the mixer, and I pulled the thing and it snapped and it broke, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I looked. They're supposed to have like a lifetime warranty, but if you try to fix it yourself, that doesn't work anymore. So I wound up, my mom actually got me a new one, but then my uncle, he's an airplane mechanic. So he's like, right, if I can fix an airplane, I can probably fix a mixer. So he wound up taking it apart and finding this like plastic plate thing, but I guess it's the speed control. Okay. Cracked, and he was like, I don't understand why they don't make this out of metal. So he ordered the part from KitchenAid, but the reason why we didn't send it out was because the shipping was gonna be as much as a new mixer.
It's outrageous. And here's the thing, and this is why I've really got kind of a foot in the door in this at all. I have people shipping me their machines from all over the US, and my overhead is super low, right? I work out of my garage. I don't have to pay an electric bill for a 1 million square foot building and a ton of employees, right? I mean, I think someone told me the other day that the same fix that I did for someone for 150, they tried to charge them like $275. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because I can do it for like half price of what they can. And really, yeah, shipping is kind of a bear though, I want to say on average, and you do save money when you print your own labels. So I print my labels when I send machines out, but I want to say on average, it's probably about $30.
Well, for them, it was, I don't know if maybe it was included with the price of their services too, for whatever they were doing, but it was like, yeah, it probably was, but it was like a couple $100. And I was like, because the mixer itself, I mean, I have the professional one with the lift.
Right.
That's like brand new. That's like $600.
Yeah.
Like I always encourage people to buy on sale during Christmas.
Sure.
But speaking of, how do you feel? I mean, I feel like people are so worried about buying a refurbished one. So now that you're in the mixer business, what's some advice about like if you're going to go brand new versus refurbished?
So, here's the thing. New is always nice. It's nice to have something that is yours that no one else has ever had. And you know how KitchenAid people be. We get all, we get a little weird sometimes. They're our babies. So I honestly, though, I don't have an issue with the refurbished machines. Reason being is I think that the refurbished machines, that's not a machine that someone has took and used for a long time. A lot of those that they are reselling are, machines that people get and they open the box and they're already leaking oil, or something little is wrong with them, and so they immediately send it back. Well, they can't offer those as new machines anymore, so they offer them as refurbished at a discount. Now, every once in a while, I've seen some that are refurbished that will have maybe a little nick in the paint or something like that. But generally, they're coming like new machines. It's not something that's been abused. It's essentially a new machine that's coming. So I recommend it, to be honest. I mean, save you a little money up front. And then, like I said, anything does happen to it, hey, you got the resources now. I make videos, or if you don't want to do it yourself, we accept shipments. So it's I have no issues with people. I recommend it.
So you make KitchenAid videos, but I saw you recently got into baking.
I'm trying. I'll tell you, I work on the machines a lot more than I bake. To be honest, I don't think I've ever baked a day in my life before.
Well, I'm bringing it up because I watched your butter.
Oh.
And so for our viewers, probably haven't watched it. You tried to make butter out of breast milk.
When life gives you lemons, right? I mean,
well, I tell you, I'm bringing it up because I have a very extensive cookbook collection. And, I don't think I applaud you for doing that, because it's, we're drinking cow breast milk. It's the same thing, except actually human breast milk is way more lean, so it doesn't have as much fat, which is probably why it didn't work out that great. But there's this book called The Ice Creamist, and there's a recipe in here actually for breast milk ice cream.
That's hilarious. You know what? I'm going to tell you, just by the cover, that book looks like total anarchy. So I'm sure there's all kinds of crazy recipes in there.
You got to see the crazy. I got this so long ago when I was in high school or something. It's very British punk rock, and I think this is the author.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
But it's a really good ice cream book. He also talks about sorbet and gelato, and just it covers a lot of frozen desserts. But I thought I gotta tell this guy about the breast milk ice cream.
What did I do wrong? I mean, like I said, I figured that it didn't have the fat content. Are they adding something to it to cause it to actually separate, or?
No, you probably, if you just kept it going, you probably could have got butter.
Okay.
It could probably just take a lot longer.
That makes sense.
But you're not going to yield as much butter anyway, because it doesn't have the fat content.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just leaner. Cows need more fat than we do. We're not as big.
Yeah.
So.
I was for a while. I'll tell you, I've lost 50 pounds recently.
Congratulations.
I was, it's really just hauling. I live in a, what is it? A quad level house.
Four.
That makes sense.
Or
no, so I live in a house, but it has an upstairs, a downstairs, and then a main floor, and then 2 or 3 steps up to another floor. So
it's split level. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm carrying around a big chunky baby. All right. I got an extra 25 pounds attached to my hip. I think that helped a lot, because that's.
I thought you just went on a breast milk diet instead of.
All liquid breast milk diet. Yeah.
So, anyway, another mixer question.
Yeah. Moving along.
So, do you do custom paint jobs?
Oh, we're so close. I just yesterday crazy. This stuff is crazy expensive. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but I did not want to bring on any like personal debt because we're already just like barely
Yeah.
keeping our heads above water, you know? So I didn't want to bring on any personal debt for it. And luckily, I released, I don't know if you've seen it, we released our Everdyne product to help with the tilt heads to keep the heads from bouncing really hard. And it went crazy. It blew up. It went viral on TikTok, and we sold like, I want to say like 3,000 of them in just a couple of weeks. So very exciting. And it has gotten me to the point to where now I can spend all of that hard-earned money into the business. Like I literally won't see a dime of that profit. Like none of that is going to go into my own pocket, literally going all back into the business. But we dropped $4,500 on a powder coating oven because, you know, powder coating, you have to bake the powder coat. You have to bake it up to 450 degrees. So we just bought this big oven. Like I said, I operate out of my garage, right? Like a 20 by 20 shop, right? Very small, not enough space. I'm already out of space for just like repair stuff. So we're actually having to, you know, get another building. So there's another, I think, $12,000. We're getting a little like 16 by 24 foot little building put in. And as soon as that's done, we run some electricity to it, and we'll be ready. So I think six to 8 weeks or so is what I'm hoping. And at that point, it's on like Donkey Kong. Like we're going to be able to basically make whatever you want, fully customizable. I had a lady email me and she's like, can you make my mixer look like a John Deere? I'm like, absolutely, of course. We'll literally be able to do anything. I don't know any of the viewers are familiar with powder coat colors, but if you go and you look up like what color can you powder coat things, I mean, the collection of colors is vast. Like
So is this like
can
like a kiln, I guess? Like,
so they do have some like that, but this is like a freezer almost. Like it's just like this giant insulated freezer with heating elements in it.
okay.
I want to say it's like 4 or 5 foot wide by 4 or 5 foot deep and 6 foot tall. Weighs about 500 pounds or so. So it's a big chunk of equipment. But I'll tell you, I'm so excited for it. I think it's much needed in the space. You know, there's people really care about their machines. They really like them, and there really has not been the option to customize. Really.
So for people, because I jumped in because I was so excited. So for people that aren't really familiar with KitchenAids, right? So KitchenAid is like the leading brand of stand mixer. And
Right.
when it comes to like being a chef, it's basically like having a car. Like it's like a prized possession, especially for a baker. And there's other brands. I mean, there's Globe mixers, but like KitchenAid is, you know, it's like the Ferrari, you know?
Right.
And they're very expensive, but they're made from a company. I mean, they originated, I don't know if they're still the same company. They got to be. But Hobart was the original company. And Hobart used to make these giant just a little mixer history, these giant mixers, which industrial kitchen still uses today. But they originated for naval ships.
Yep.
So then like the head of Hobart or whatever made a small countertop version, gave it to his wife to try out, and she was like, this is the best KitchenAid I ever had. And that's how they got the name for it. Or, you know, that's how they market it.
That's the well, I don't want to say old wives' tale because that would mean that it's not true. I guess that's like the lore, I guess the lore
Yeah, the
behind
lore.
it.
It might be true, but it's also a good story to make you buy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. So another really cool thing is that the guy, what I want to say his name's like Charles Herbert, was the creator of Hobart. Which, fun fact, his great grandson messaged me on Facebook the other day, or maybe a couple months ago, and I asked him, he's like, well, we don't really have anything to do with the company anymore, but I just want to say like thank you for doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, that's the coolest thing ever because you know that's neat. That's super neat. You want? I can take you out to my shop real quick, and we can show everyone. I do have a couple of those big machines.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and You know, while we're at it, I think I had a treat here. I actually drove down, I made a road trip down to Texas, and I picked up the exact mixer that you were talking about, the Model H5, the very first KitchenAid ever manufactured. Yeah,
No
so,
way.
yep, I'll show that off real quick. So let
Mark,
me
I just
see
got
here.
chills.
So, oh, it's super cool. So I've been wanting one for so long, but you know, they're 100 years old. There's not very many of them left out there. So, okay, let me turn the camera around here. There we go. All right, so check it out. This right here is a D300. So this is going to be a 30-quart mixer, and yeah, it's a super cool machine. So what's interesting about these style, a lot of people don't know this, but when you start these and you want to shift speeds, you cannot shift them on the fly. So you actually have to stop it, shift it, start it again. If you don't do that, it just completely jacks them up. Well, they did release a newer one. This is the HL200, the Legacy series. And these are really neat machines. Let me take you around the other side here. So they've actually switched to electronic controls. I don't know if you can see this right here. So this is basically just like a giant KitchenAid now, right? This is a 20-quart machine here. You can actually shift these now on the fly. So you can go 1, 2, 3 while it's running and not run into any issues. And then here we got the big guy. This is a 60-quarter right here.
Yep, I used to work with one of those.
Let me turn it back around here so you guys can see how big. I mean, it's almost as tall as I am. These things giant.
And you see the crank on the side?
Yeah, it's got this wheel right here. That's how you move it up and down. It's crazy. It has to have a counterweight on it because that bowl's heavy. I think the bowl itself probably weighs like 60 pounds. I had to carry it the other day and I almost threw my back out.
Yeah, it's a two-man job when it's full of batter.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. I'm kind of like a go-getter, right? And so I donated a machine. I like to give back to the community and things like that. So I donated a brand new mixer to the Butler County Delta Waterfowl Association for like a raffle. They were raising money for kids outdoors programs and conservation efforts and things like that. And so I donated a machine, and it turns out the secretary of that organization is an HVAC technician. And he was up in the attic of a KFC working on some of their ductwork. And he was like, oh yeah, they have these machines up here. They're not using them anymore. So yeah, I called the store and I was like, hey, what are you guys doing with these? Oh yeah, we don't know. I talked to the manager. Oh, we don't know. I was like, well, can I talk to the owner? And of course, like any good employee, oh, we don't give out the owner's number. Nope, sorry, can't contact. Well, what about an email address? Okay, we can do that. So I cold emailed this guy. Super nice, super cool. He let me come in. I picked up, I believe, 9 20-quart Hobart machines from him for a smoking deal. I think I paid $300 a piece for them. And
my God.
Yeah, they're all in various states of working condition, but a majority of them, I would say probably 7 of them were in good enough condition for me to do something with. So definitely lucked out on that one. That's going to be a nice little, but yeah, enough about that, because I want to show you this H5, because this is probably the coolest thing since sliced bread. Actually, I think it was probably invented before sliced bread. Okay, let me turn back around here because this is a treat. So here is the Model H5 right here. I should have had it out on the counter. I should have known that I was going to break it out, but that's all right. So this thing is absolutely amazing. Very similar. You know, you got a little lever here that lifts and raises the bowl. It's like a rod right here that lifts it. And then unfortunately the little speed knob broke off. I'm going to have to manufacture something to make that work. But yeah, you just kind of move that through the speeds. It's got a little switch here. That's how you turn it on. It kicks on. The cool thing is it's got the same attachment port. You can actually run the same attachments nowadays on this.
On every single kitchen.
Yeah,
or
anything that was made back then can come, you know, to now. Let's see. I got 4 really cool machines I just want to show off. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I like to show off my vintage machines because people don't get to see them very often.
Oh, that's cool. What are you doing up there, huh?
Really unique little tabs there. So this is from 1933. It's a Model F. And all of these work, by the way. There's my little Woody up there. But yeah, very cool machine. They're a lot heavier than they are now. I think this machine probably weighs 50 pounds. The H5 probably weighs about 75 pounds. Let me get some of my crap out of here. So this is a Model 4C. I love these things, man. They look super cool. One interesting fact about them, like they have all of the directions for like what speed you should use for like whatever task you're doing or whatever attachment you're using. I think that is so neat. And then my personal favorite machine of all time, this is the Cadillac of mixers. I think it just looks so stinking cool. It's got the fins on it. It's got the handle. This is the Model 4B. And, you know, to be honest, they haven't changed a lot since then. These were made in the 40s. The actual design for like that tilt head style of machine has not changed since, I believe, 1943, if I remember correct. You know, really the only difference between the new ones that they have now and this is they just don't have the cool accessory trim pieces on them anymore.
Yeah, they need to bring those back. That's cool.
Well, I may or may not be designing some really cool handles and fins for them. So
Oh,
yeah. Shh.
I gotta
That's
say
on.
though, I'm not a fan of the tilt head. I hate it.
You know, they have their purpose, I suppose. You know, if you're going to be doing anything like any heavy lifting, like do a lot of doughs and things like that, obviously I'm going to put you back on my stand here. Obviously not the best choice for that.
I'm
Simply
going to tell you, one of the reasons why I really don't like it is because it doesn't give you access to the bottom of the bowl. And when you're heating up buttercream, you want to get in there with a blowtorch, or you want to put it on a double boiler, and you can't because you have this stupid lump on the bottom of the bowl. That's basically my reason for hating those mixers.
So you torch it while it's on the machine running?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But you do it like a little bit at a time. You don't hold
right.
You know, so to warm up buttercream, or if you want to make like a Swiss buttercream or something, you actually take the mixer bowl and put it on the double boiler, so you don't have to do a bunch of dishes and then put it back in and then whip it up. But you can't do that if there's a nub there because the heat doesn't transfer as good.
Right. That's really cool. I like that. I actually didn't know that. So you taught me something.
Yay. But that was amazing. Thanks for showing me all that. That's so
yeah,
cool.
absolutely. It's just my little collection. I like to show it off every once in a while. It doesn't get as much enjoyment if I'm the only one enjoying it. I like to share with all my friends. So
yeah, it's probably hard to find another like mixer nerd too.
Oh yeah.
But the original Hobart, I was going to say before, that's really cool how it turns on and off in between the gears, because then you can't have it on while you're changing gears. So you can't strip the gears while you do
right.
it.
Well, so here's the thing. You can actually switch it. Like it'll go, but the reason why you shouldn't do it is because if you do it, you'll damage it. So
well, that's the big one though.
Do what now?
I'm talking about the little one that had like the slits where you would.
Oh no, yeah. So you're right about that. Yeah.
But yeah, the big one, I used to that exact model we had in pastry school, and you would fail for the year if you switched it while it was on. Yeah, because it's so bad for the machine. I have a question actually about that. When you use the attachments on the KitchenAid machine, because like for instance, like the pasta roller, I always tell like just for in case, can you switch the settings on the pasta roller while it's on, or is it better to turn it off? I would think.
No, that's a solid question. I think it's probably best to turn it off. Now, I think with the roller, I know you can adjust like how thick and thin it is. That would probably be fine. But I'm not sure. I don't deal with the attachments a lot. I focus more on the machines. Now I have repaired some of the attachments, but there's really not any like parts available to repair attachments.
Yeah.
So I really I stay away from them. Every once in a while, like I'll pick one up, and if I have it, I'll people call me and say, hey, do you have this? Yeah, sure, here you go, I got it. But I really don't focus on that aspect a whole lot. I would say it's probably always safer to go ahead and turn it off before you're switching things up. But I'm trying to think. There's not a whole lot of the attachments that have functions to change, are there?
No, I think maybe the pasta one's the only one because I mean, there's the meat grinder for sausage. There's
Right.
pasta attachment. There's the ice cream one, but I don't know. I don't know about
I,
the other one. To me, I think the one that's worth it is the pasta attachment. I have the meat grinding one, but I haven't used it yet, so I don't know about that.
it's not that great, and I say that it's not bad, but it's not great. Now, most of them are I believe all the ones that KitchenAid manufactures are plastic. They might manufacture a metal one, but I'm not a fan of plastic. It just doesn't have that durability that I hope for in things. And I have an actual like large Hobart meat grinder, and so
Okay.
anytime I try and break out the small meat grinder, I'm like, this just isn't doing it for me. I got a big one, like big one. It can grind anything, and I love that. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It serves its purpose for what it is. It's not overly expensive. I think it's probably like $79.99 maybe for the meat grinder
I
attachment.
got the meat grinder, like, cause like my first KitchenAid, I got that when I was like 16 or something. It's like a Christmas present because I've always known I wanted to be a chef. So I think like the next year I got it was like when it first came out or whatever, the meat grinder, and I haven't used it because every
Yeah,
time I want to do it, like I'm making like a lot of it, you know.
right.
So usually I just wind up getting the meat ground, you know. It's just easier.
I
But
get it. Yeah, it's like I'm the same way. Like the only time I ever do any kind of like meat processing is like, I mean, I like to hunt on occasion. If I go and if I get a deer, every once in a while I'll go to the livestock auction and pick up a hog or something. And so I'll use it in those situations, but generally it's like I'm just running down to the corner store and picking up some ground beef, right? Like it's unless you're doing large batches, it's really
and even with
not.
hunting, you can like you usually have like a butcher break down the whole animal for you, right?
Oh no, I
Or
process it all the time.
oh, cool. Oh, you have a lot of space, huh?
Not as much. I generally go over and do it at my parents' house when I do that because they have a little bit more space than I do. My kitchen is it. I love my house, but my kitchen is not really that user friendly. Maybe one day I'll be able to expand it a little bit. A boy can dream, right? Like, because I love to cook.
I mean,
It's,
you're in the mixer business. I hope you love to cook.
yeah, for sure. Now I have a question for you. How the heck did you know that you wanted to be? Oh, you always knew you wanted to be a chef. Like I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So how did you know?
I think it was so there was like maybe like a year where I was like, I'm gonna be a UFC fighter.
Oh,
But
I'm in
yeah, but for the most part, I think it was because when I made people food, I saw how happy it made them.
Yes.
And as I'm like, getting older, I realized because like the grind of the kitchen, it's not. I don't think like the way it is now, it's not sustainable. Like
Right.
restaurant workers are they need a union pretty much. Like they
Oh,
need
I
yeah.
agree. I worked in the restaurant. I was a server for a while. I don't know if you have Carlos O'Kelly's where you're at, but I worked for a Carlos O'Kelly's, like a little Tex-Mex restaurant. Hated it.
Yeah. And in some restaurants, um the back of the house gets like pooled tips, but most of them you don't.
Right.
And you're working for like, $10 an hour, you
Yep.
know. Um you don't get unless you're like a salaried worker, you don't get health care, you don't get anything like that. So, it's not unless you have your own business, like it's not
Certainly. And let's be real. it's not easy work by any means. Like working in a kitchen over, whether you're over open flames or around grills and ovens and things like, it's hot, it's dirty, like
Oh yeah, it's physically demanding and dangerous, and on
really,
top of it being so physically and demanding and dangerous, you don't have health insurance.
yeah, it's
So
flowing, to be honest. You're right. It's not really sustainable. I see your point there. I've never really thought about it in that aspect, but I 100% agree with you. Like
yeah.
yeah,
So I think so that's I basically like I realized that, and that's when I decided to become a flight attendant. And then I realized that my passion is definitely with food, but it's connected because food I think is one of the best ways to learn about other people, and what they like and their culture and everything. Like,
yes,
so I think my passion, it's probably 80% that and 20% the food, like I love a good challenge when it comes to food. And like, I love going to a restaurant and being like stumped in like how they made it, you know,
right.
I'll come back to that restaurant, but
I'm getting some hints of rosemary. A little, yeah, like,
yeah, well, usually like I remember, like I'll never forget when I went to France. We did like a tour of France for like my associate's degree, and I
right.
got to go to like a couple like Michelin star restaurants. Like it was really cool.
I'm jealous.
And so, like they always bring out, stereotypical like little plates, but there's a lot of them because after like the third or fourth bite, you stop tasting things. And that's why fancy restaurants have like a lot of little courses and large, like a lot of little dishes and like, 7 courses or 11 courses or whatever, because they want to keep changing your palate, right?
Sure. Okay, I've never thought about it like that, but I understand the science behind that. That makes perfect sense. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you feel like you're paying a bajillion dollars for like this much food, but like there's a purpose behind it. And
That makes sense. That's really cool.
yeah, so at this restaurant there was they came out with this macaroon it was green, and the because it would like the dining room was just all the students from the school, so the chef would come out and just kind of like talk about it. But so for this one, he's like, I want everyone to eat this and then guess what flavor it was. And it was delicious, but like it was like so fragrant and like floral, and like pretty much everyone guessed like some kind of vanilla bean that was like, like maybe like a Tahitian vanilla bean, like they're very like marshmallowy or something. It turned out to be a olive oil that they figured out how to like partially
Huh.
like make into like a mousse. It was really cool. But because of where they got it, I think it was like an Italian, some Italian region. That's why it was like the flavor was so intense and amazing. But like things like that, that's where I'm like, I got to figure out how they did that. That's definitely the chef side.
Right. Very, very cool. No, to go back to, you were saying like it's more about also like the people business. Like you see the smiles that you put on. That's part of the reason why I do what I do. I tell you, when I have a little old lady come into my shop in tears because she's on Social Security and she couldn't afford to get her machine fixed or buy a new one, and I fix it for her, and like just you can literally feel it's tangible.
Oh
The
yeah, because
feeling.
also the mixer is not like, especially like in terms. I mean, the pandemic has fucked me over so bad, but when my mixer broke, I was like, I was on camera, like doing, luckily it was just like my friends, one of my YouTube friends and stuff. But like I was about to start bawling because I'm like, I grow like a lot of the stuff I eat on my patio right now, like on food stamps, like this can't be happening, like, you know? So I totally relate to that old lady, man, because if I didn't have my, my family helping me out, like,
Right.
fuck, but I still, I save so much money and time because I have a KitchenAid mixer.
Yeah, and like it's crazy how sentimental they become, like for real. I mean, if you think about it, like when do you get them? Like generally it's like either your first big purchase when you move out on your own and you get your own kind of kitchen. You get them for your wedding,
Yeah.
or like an anniversary gift or something like that. And they last a long time. And so you become attached to them. They get very sentimental. Like I can't tell you how many machines that I've worked on that literally just hold so much sentimental value that the people, like, they were like, I don't care what it costs, just do it. Like some things that come to mind, like I worked on one from like the 1940s that a lady had, her great grandmother had brought it over from, I want to say like Czechoslovakia or something like that when she migrated over. And, it's just kind of been like passed down through the family and it broke down. Or another one, a lady got it as a gift on her wedding from her husband and he had passed away. Well, then the machine broke and like, I guess that was her, one of her last connections to him. And so just to be able to do that for her, like the feeling that it gave me from like seeing the smile on her face, it's like very few things make you feel like that. Very humbling. Like I love it.
That's awesome. And I'm really excited for the custom paint jobs. I think I'm gonna be one of your customers.
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be neat. Like at first, obviously, I'm gonna have to do some trial runs. Luckily, I have a ton of parts machines laying around, so obviously, I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing it right. I don't want to advertise that I'm doing it and then have someone send their machine and I can't do it. But that's not going to be an issue. Obviously, we'll be able to do it for sure. But we're definitely going to make sure that we're doing it right and making sure that it is quality, because really, I don't want my name associated with anything but quality. I want people to know that when they send it to me, like they're getting the best repairs and customizations that they can. So
Can you make a YouTube show called Pimp My Mixer?
at my mixer, yeah. What is it? Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I should do that. No, it's going to be more than just machines too. So we're actually going to custom color, all of your attachments, your paddle and your beater and things like that. We'll be able to make those whatever color you want. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to customize the exterior of the bowls as well and make those whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be really neat. And then on top of that, we're going to, so I bought a Cricut, which I'm not
A
a
what?
craft. A Cricut, like a vinyl cutting or a
Oh, my
material.
friend has that. Yeah, like what exactly is that?
So it's just like a little device that you hook it up to your computer through a program, and it just kind of gives it what dimensions it should cut. So like it'll just cut out like stickers and vinyl decals and things like that. So we're actually going to incorporate that as well. And I think we're going to make some like really cool stickers to turn your machine, like Star Wars fans, we'll turn them into like R2-D2. Doctor Who fans, we could turn a machine into like a TARDIS. Like we're going to be able to really do anything. We'll make them some really cool stuff. I'm really excited about it. If you can't tell, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So speaking of, your customization, you got the money using making that dime. What is it called?
Yeah, it's called the Everdime, and it's a neat little product. So if you have it, obviously I'm a little biased because I'm the person who invented it, but I think like people have been loving it. It's been getting stellar reviews. Basically, so with the tilt head machines, what happens is when you tilt them up, there's a little screw in the neck right here, and that dictates how the head sits in the bowl, right? So over time, right, they bounce, vibration, that screws itself in, and then that head will start to sag. And when that happens, it leaves a lot of room between the bottom of the bowl and where it meets resistance with the lock, right? So it's bam, 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 bam. They jump really hard. It just throws the whole system out of whack because a lot of the speed controls and even just like the housing screws that mount the body together, they'll rattle out of the machine from so much vibration. So what this does,
the screw basically, how do I explain this for people listening and not watching? there's like a dime's worth of space when you put your attachment in between the bowl and where the attachment is. So it's as thin as a dime. So over time with the vibration, the screw controls the space between the mixer head that rotates the attachment and the bowl. So if that thing vibrates, then it's either too high or too low, and you gotta go back and adjust it, right?
exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
So let me show for the people that are watching. I'm going to just give them a sneak peek here because, to be honest, I really think, again, like I said, I'm a little bit biased. Everyone can make their own decision on it. But I think it really is kind of a game changer, to be honest. So here's that screw that we were talking about here, right under the neck right here. And you really can't even tell that it's on there.
Yeah. Does the non-tilt head have the same thing? I think
they don't. So here's a non-tilt head right here. So this is like a K5SS. Some of these have like this little screw right here.
I thought they had one like when you lift it up, they have something.
So that's what that is. You see how it's connecting against that little screw right there? Okay. So if you were to loosen that, it wouldn't let this come up as far so that your bowl would be further away. If you tighten it, vice versa, it lets it come up a little further to where these ones, this is like the professional 600 right here, this black machine. And so that's what this screw right here in the middle. So that's for adjusting the height. Well, now, unfortunately, on this style of machine, a lot of them don't get to the bottom of the bowl. Like your beater will not reach the bottom of the bowl. It usually leaves a gap about that big, which leaves a lot of room for, ingredients to not get incorporated properly. And
I gotta scrape the bottom of the bowl. Mixers this way, not this way.
That's actually why they've come out with the flex edge beaters, right? So it just adds that little extra material, that silicone material to do that. But yeah, so all that EverDime does is it just locks that into place. So the head of this screw will counterseat into that rubber. So it does three things. It keeps that screw from moving. So once you set it, it's perfectly set. It dampens it. So like if you ever accidentally drop the head, since it's counterseated, that rubber is the first thing to connect. So it softens the blow when it falls. And then turn around here. There we go. Since your machine is set, like I said, the dime test is just the height of a dime. It keeps those attachments from rubbing the bottom of the bowl. So when your attachments rub, let me see, I got so much junk around here. I know I got one somewhere. I'll see if I can find a example of a paddle here for you. That is all banged up. Here we go. This is a dough hook, but with those attachments, they start rubbing the bottom of the bowl and it just rips that enamel right off of there. And that stuff gets in your food. I don't know about you, but I don't think I would like to find a little crunchy and something that's
a little too much fiber, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But so that's basically what the EverDime does. It just keeps the head from dropping and hitting real hard. It keeps your when you adjust it, it keeps it in perfect adjustment and alignment, and it just helps prevent those beaters from getting chipped. Which another cool thing is that those KitchenAid makes those attachments with the enamel. So when we start doing the powder coating is actually very, very durable. So you actually won't see that anymore after that.
Do it too. So as a chef, I know that you're not supposed to put not the enameled ones, but the I don't know what they're, galvanized or something.
Right.
Dishwasher. But other people in the household, I won't name any names, didn't know that. And now they're all like weepy and like, you touch it and like the stuff comes off?
Yeah, it's gross.
Do you know how to fix that?
I do. So there are a few different ways to do it, and so they are actually made out of anodized aluminum,
Okay.
and so they look nice and pretty if you don't leave them in a hot sink. Because if you leave them in a sink, it'll do it as well.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's a wash, hand dry, and
I feel like why it makes me so mad. Like, why would you ever make it like that?
no, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they started manufacturing and didn't realize that that would happen, or so here's the thing. When they started making those, that was like before dishwashers weren't a thing. Like you hand wash everything anyways, right?
Oh, okay. I'm
So
not
they've been
mad now.
using that material since probably the 30s, 20s. I don't, to be honest, I don't know how far back that material goes, but yeah, they've been using that for a long time. But yes, dishwasher, if you have uncoated attachments, dishwasher is a no-no. Same with the whisk. A lot of people think that the whisk will be okay as well. No, the head of that whisk is also anodized aluminum, and so then the little the head that actually,
Well,
not the whisk itself, but just a little part up top that actually connects to the machine, that'll start turning black and flaking as well.
but in general, I mean, I'm not sure about the attachment, but in general, like especially with like hand whisks, you'd never put them in the dishwasher because those tongs are glued in and the heat from the dishwasher will bend the glue and eventually they'll just pop out.
Oh, interesting. I think so I think the ones on the KitchenAid are pressed. So they shove them up there and then press it real hard. They sometimes break as well. But yeah, keep them away from the dishwasher. So to fix them though, however, there's a couple different ways you could do it. I do it the old fashioned way. I'm like I said, I'm pretty frugal. I don't like to buy things unless I need them. So I use vinegar because everyone generally has vinegar around the house. Big pot of boiling water and two or three cups of vinegar, drop it down in there. Like I said, get it boiling and then let your attachment sit in there and boil for like 15 minutes. And yeah, and after 15 minutes, pull it out, get an old towel, something that you don't really care about, and just, like I said, vigorously just rub it as hard as you can. And it'll take a lot of those black flakes off of there. Now, it's still going to be a little bit discolored. It's not going to be as shiny as it was when you got it out of the box by any means, but it'll take a lot of that anodized powder, aluminum powder, it'll take it off. And the other way I hear a lot of people say, I use like Barkeeper's Friend or, things like it's basically just like a cleaning agent, essentially, that they say cleans it up pretty well. But I do it the old fashioned way, just boil it with some vinegar and it generally cleans them up pretty well.
Okay, that's good to know. Because, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like, I'm sure it doesn't taste good if it gets in your food, but I wasn't sure if it was like toxic or anything.
I don't think it's toxic. I don't think that it can harm you in any way, but I don't know about you. I don't really want to ingest.
I mean, aluminum, it'll probably taste like a tin can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not delicious. So, cool. I think those were like all my mixer questions.
Just riff. We can riff a little bit.
Yeah. I always come to this point and I'm like, so that's so cool. How much is that dime thing?
$12. So the funny thing is I think really the only reason it went viral on TikTok is because I had like the whole 3D printer community like attacked me. They're like, how could you charge $12 for that little thing? I'm like, dude, do you realize how much time and thought? Because it wasn't just, this is my invention, this is exactly what I want to do. No, I put like hundreds of hours into that product. So I originally started with trying to just make a screw that was the perfect length that could replace that old screw, because it's threaded and then there's like a hollow portion and then there's another wall at the back end.
Okay.
So when you screw it in, I figured, okay, if you just get the perfect length screw, it'll hit that back wall. It won't be able to screw itself in. It's not going to go anywhere. It'll be the perfect adjustment. Well, I found out that that's not possible because they're cast aluminum. The bodies of those machines are all cast aluminum. And I was thinking to myself, okay, they're all a cast, they're all the same mold, it should be fine. Well, in any type of manufacturing, there's always an acceptable level of variance. And so, you know, even if it's only off by a little bit, it threw them all off. So I could not get a screw to work. So I had to scrap that idea. And, you know, that I spent a lot of time just on that. And then I don't know how I ended up with that. I really don't. I think, you know, there are already, it's just basically just a bushing or a grommet. Like they already have similar products out there for different applications.
Yeah, but it
And
has to fit in that narrow.
right, yes. And so I could not find, I even tried to find, you know, ones that were already manufactured that I could just buy and see if it worked. And so I found some like that achieved what I wanted to achieve, but they weren't the right size. So basically I went through and I had to, you know, I had some calipers and I just did precise measurements. I got it to be the perfect size to perform the exact function that I wanted to. And I did all of this in 100-degree Kansas summer weather with no AC in my garage. Needless to say, I could not wear gray because I was soaking through my clothes. But yes,
I think.
yeah.
I think you earned the $12. Plus, so do you have a website? I'm gonna put all your links in the description.
Sure, yeah, I do. So MrMixer.store. I know, right? Real creative, huh? I was looking for a domain name and MrMixer.com was taken and all the other dots were taken, but there was a .store and I'm like, this is my store, so why not, right? So MrMixer.store, really, it's through Squarespace, so you know, nothing too fancy, but we really have just about anything that you can think of as far as, you know, we have all the tools that you might need to work on it. We have all of the parts that you might need, or a majority of it anyways, more of the parts that are most commonly failed parts. There are some things right now that we just cannot get. They are either not sorry, I have a weird hair sticking up there. Got a really bad calic. There are some parts right now that really just are unattainable. And I don't know why that is. Well, I do know why that is, but basically when COVID hit, and then so we had factories shutting down and things like that, right? So there's way less production. Well, guess what? All of the restaurants closed as well. So then people are staying at home, cooking at home, eating at home because they can't get food anywhere else. Then you inject a bunch of stimulus money, right? A lot of more people who are either were drawing unemployment or just got stimulus checks. They had a lot more money than they did previously. And so they were buying stuff. Well, they're buying KitchenAid mixers. So not only could they not keep up with demand, but they had a lower level of production, which just threw a huge wrench into things, and it has not caught up. I know for like at least 3 months, you could not get a KitchenAid in stores at all. Like, and even now, I know people who are waiting months to get some of the less common, less common models, like the 7-quart Pro line machine. You can't get it right now. Like, I want to say someone told me that they ordered it a few months ago and they're not expected to get it until October. So months waiting on things. So it's pretty crazy. Some of the electrical components that I need, just can't find them.
That's crazy. So do you know how to do all that motherboard stuff?
I could. I really could. I'm not an expert on it by any means, but really not my bag. Not what I like to do. Generally, whenever I have a failed part, I diagnose things based on symptoms, right? Yeah. So if it's having this symptom, it's this part that's causing it. Generally, I just replace the part. You know, you could technically go find a little capacitor, resistor, whatever you need, and solder it in. That's a little too like.
What?
The ADHD in me says, not enough dopamine reward for that. Like I have to it just doesn't interest me really. So I don't really get into that. I'm sure there are people who could do it if they wanted to. But
With the
yeah,
because the speed on the KitchenAid is it uses some kind of motherboard type thing. Um, but the thing that broke on mine was, I guess it was like the thing that it connects to the motherboard. It's the plastic piece.
right.
So the problem is that I had been using it for so many years that like flour got caked up in there and stuff.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't move, and then it cracked when I tried to move it. Um, is there a way to like? Could you make like a metal one so it wouldn't crack?
So I have considered that, and that's one of the upgrades that I would like to do down the road. The problem is manufacturing things is extremely expensive, like really expensive. And I mean, that's one of those things to where like even to have like one built and just like a test model, like the very first model would probably cost several $1,000s of time and
Yeah.
work and material and things like that. Because here's the thing: is like you can't just make a product and throw it out there and say here it is. Like you have to test it, you have to make sure it works. I wouldn't want to like throw it out there and then have 1,000 people buy it and be like, you broke my machine. I'd be like, I don't know. So it takes a lot to do things like that. Now down the road, I would definitely like to, because I see that speed control board on the Pro 600, Pro 5 Plus style machine is one of the biggest design flaws on their machine. I mean,
And I wonder, is it plastic because it's cheaper, or does that like heat up or something where you wouldn't want it to be metal?
plastic because it's cheaper. That's the only reason.
Is it metal on any of the older models?
No, and so really that is the first time that type of board has been introduced to the KitchenAid mixer. Was probably 25 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe, when the first professional 600 came out. They make, I kid you not, go look at a list of like models that they've made. They've probably made 1,000 different models of the KitchenAid. And the funny thing is like they're all basically the same thing.
Yeah, you got to keep rebranding, you know? It's like Oreos. You got to come out
That's
with the flavor.
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, they're basically all the same. I know like they have a model called the Epicurean, which I think was like their bowl raise style of the Artisan. And they called it the Epicurean. Well, all it is a professional 600. But they ended up dropping that line. They don't use it anymore. Of course, they made some really annoying little changes. Like they added like one gear tooth to the worm gear, which then makes it to where like you have to switch out the entire motor and gear to fix it. Because if you just drop in the new worm gear, well, then the motor isn't like this. I don't know what they call them. The teeth on the motor aren't but for the right. Yeah, they don't align, and so it's like, thanks for doing that. Like, really, what did you accomplish by adding one tooth to it? But
You accomplished having to buy another mixer. That's what they did.
That's exactly what happened. They made a little switch. Hey, I guess it's a little shady, but that's just business, right? I get it. When you become a giant company like that and you have tens of thousands of employees, like you gotta do what you gotta do to make that dollar. But
and they really, I mean, honestly, like KitchenAids are like they really don't break down that often. So it's
yeah. And so here's the thing. I think that they were definitely better 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Than they
I
are
feel
now.
like it's like cars, like the same analogy. Like back in the day, like cars were like tanks, like they're not gonna break down if you take good care of them. But nowadays they break down, so you have to buy a new one, or even cell phones. They're fucking cool. Same thing. So maybe
it's all about
a refurbished one is better than a new one because
and so here's the thing, like they're still, like I said, they're not bad machines. Like as far as price point and what they're capable of and how durable they are, how long, like longevity and things like that, still the best machine on the market at that $3,000 to $500-$600 price point, because you know the next step up you're looking at spending you know, 12, 1500, 1800 for a machine that, yeah, sure, would maybe last longer, but who the heck has an extra couple $1,000s laying around to go throw in a mixer, right? Like,
If I'm
that's
gonna spend like thousands of dollars, I'm buying a 30-quart Hobart.
right. Right. I will say though, so Hobart does make a 5-quart machine. It's called the N50, and I think they're like $2,500. But that is a machine that would outlive both of us. Like Hobart still makes very, very quality equipment. They're like the gold standard, obviously, in the restaurant and kitchen field. And so,
and they make really cool bread mixers. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Yeah, they have a lot of like really cool things that I didn't even know that they made. I didn't even know that they had tools for applications like that. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. But they make, you know, top tier. If I had $2,500 laying around that I could use for a mixer, I would buy one. I mean, they're super, super durable.
What would you make though? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would feel guilty even using it, even though it is durable. I'd be like, I don't want to break you. You're so expensive. But no, I feel like KitchenAid is the best. And it's like I said, repairability is a big thing for me, right? There are a lot of machines out there that you get and they break down, and then you have to buy a new one because you can't repair them.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about KitchenAid was the ability to keep it going. It's basically as long as you want. You can literally keep. I mean, you can really abuse a machine.
Oh, I abuse the shit out of my machine.
Like I said, you can abuse them and do no maintenance, nothing to them, and they'll still probably last 10 years, maybe 5 years if you're really beating them up. But
more than that. I mean, I literally take a blowtorch to my machine. It's fine. Yeah, right. It's fine.
You need a flamethrower. You need a.
I mean, it's not a tiny one. It's a blowtorch. It's like
the blue bottled ones.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. Let's burn some stuff. Woo.
Yep. No. Good old mathematics.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So when you do that on your bowl, and you know you're gonna hit the back of the machine.
So have you seen your bowl discolor at all from heat? Because I know you can.
No, I mean, it doesn't, because also usually the thing in the bowl is like freezing cold.
Right.
Just like the condensation will come up, but you don't do it that long. So
it takes a lot of heat to scorch that stuff anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised like I haven't scorched, because like when you're doing the bottom of the bowl, like the heat obviously hits the back of the mixer, and that hasn't scorched it either. So
Right.
I mean, it's been like 15 years, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just nice to find. That's what another thing that I just love about KitchenAid is, like, they are pretty quality. At least their mixers are. Some of their other.
So what other machines do you fix besides KitchenAids? You mentioned.
Oh, I will literally fix anything that intrigues me. If I don't find it interesting, I'm like, nah, pass. But I have fixed some like industrial snow cone machines, like big machines. So I fixed some of those. Swan ice shavers is what they're called. I've fixed, I'll work on like vehicles, and then I don't do it for customers, but I will work on my own vehicles. Any kind of like little electronics. I've worked on VCRs. I've worked on. I do work on some of the like larger like Hobart machines. I will take those apart and work on those. I have before. I have some ice cream machine motors in my shop right now, which I don't know how interested I am to really get into them.
They
but
seem
really
interesting, but they seem, because I have a Cuisinart that I got maybe, I don't know, like close to 10 years ago.
Right.
And, that would be a great thing, because to have an ice cream machine that actually has a refrigeration unit in it it's at least like $400, you know?
Right.
And when I got mine, it kind of has like this motor, this arm that like plugs in to this motor thing
Right.
and it turns. But when I got it, the gears in it are plastic. And for whoever like put it together, I guess like it was like they pop them out or something when they make them in the mold or whatever. So like the fragments of the edges were still there, so it wouldn't turn.
Huh.
And then I wound up unscrewing the thing because I was like, this thing I just bought it. It's $400, you know. And actually, I got a Christmas present from my ex-boyfriend. Best Christmas present. So then
Well,
I
thanks, my friend.
yeah, thanks,
Appreciate
boyfriend. So then I wound up taking a paring knife or something and cutting out the little plastic pieces and putting it back together, and it's worked ever since. But like,
Oh, heck yeah.
I was so
That's
nervous just to open the casing because I was like, if I break this thing, like,
right.
yeah.
That's some ingenuity though. I like where your head's at. That was very cool of you to do that. So here's the thing I always tell people, it's not going to get any more broke than it already is. So you should at least try to fix. Like there's literally nothing that around my house that if I feel like it needs to be replaced, I will fix it. Like vacuum cleaners, I fix them all the time. Very easy to work on. What else? Oh, I fixed a couple espresso machines. I had to pronounce it right because my wife always bags on me because I talk too fast and I say espresso. And
No,
she's like,
your last name's Nicola. You
yeah,
better say espresso.
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 Yeah. So I fixed some of those. Really, like I said, if I think it's cool, I'll work on it. One of the biggest things for me is like, what's it worth kind of thing, because not that I'm trying to like get rich by any means, but it has to have an inherent value to it, right? If something's worth less than $100, I generally won't work on it because by the time I put the research into it to figure out what's wrong with it, if they even make parts, ordering the parts and then fixing it, you're probably going to have at least $100 tied up in it anyways. And I don't want to charge someone what it's worth or more than what it's worth when they could just go get a new one. Unless it has some kind of sentimental value, of course I'll do it. But
So talking about price, you're really good at like finding the price of things. Have you ever thought about being on, was it The Price is Right?
Price is Right. Oh, I would kill for that. or Jeopardy. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. He was my idol. But no, I love The Price is Right. I think I would do surprisingly well, to be honest. But I don't
I think
know.
you're well. My aunt was on Jeopardy. It's pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah, my God.
I've seen like every episode, so I probably saw her.
Shout out to Aunt Judy. Judy
Yeah.
Moss.
And Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Sometimes I watch that show and I feel really smart, and sometimes I'm like, well, I would have been in the negative.
I remember it being so hard when I was a kid because it was like real questions. Like it was like Shakespearean.
They've gone into a lot of like pop culture as well now, which is fine. That's cool. But yeah, you're right. It was a lot more difficult back in the good old days.
Yeah. And I mean, also I was like little, like we watched it like every day,
Yeah.
like because it came on like right before we would have dinner. So like it was not there was often bets between, because I have a twin brother, so it was definitely like,
Wait, so you have a twin brother?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really cool.
Why are you?
Do you have no? But no. I think it would be cool. Do you have that weird twin connection?
He says no, but I say yes.
Yeah.
When we were little, like I remember like having a feeling like something's wrong, and I went outside, and my brother like fell off his bike and was like hurt like down the street.
Right.
I'm like, well, I would have never like came outside unless I had that weird feeling.
Right. I firmly believe that stuff is like real. I mean, I agree. I am a very intuitive person, so
But it's probably, I would say, because we're fraternal, obviously, because he's a boy
Right.
and I'm a girl. But so I would feel like that would be more identical twin.
Identical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But hey, that's still really cool. I
We're
think.
also like complete opposite like personalities and everything too. So it's like, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I've come out of my shell a lot, like making a
Right.
YouTube channel and stuff. But like, when we were kids, like I did all the silent arts and he did all the like, like he's a musician. Like he's really, the only thing we had in common really was jujitsu. So
Oh, okay. Very cool. So, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert, or
I would say definitely, I would say I'm more introverted and I feel like I've gotten to the point where I can make myself extroverted,
right?
but it takes a lot out of me, like a
You're
lot
an,
of
you're an omnivert.
I don't know. I think like yeah, I have like a battery of like
Right.
extrovertness, and once that's drained, like I don't want to talk to anyone.
Oh, I am the same way. So I like like I said, when my battery's charged, I can be very extroverted. Like I'm loud, I talk with my hands, I act goofy sometimes. Like I don't intentionally like try and be like a center of attention by any means, but I often draw a crowd just because I'm just such a weirdo, I guess. But
Is it
uh,
fun?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I really do. I like to have fun. But you're right. Like once that battery is drained, it's like, all right, get in the car. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm kind of like, it's weird. I'm kind of like a social chameleon, I suppose. Like I really, very few people that I don't get along with. I can blend in just about any crowd, which is cool.
I kind of do the same, but I think it's also because I just like food so much, and everybody's got to eat. So like,
Oh, so that was one thing that I meant to mention when we were kind of talking about. We kind of got off track a little bit here. Let's get this train back on the tracks. I have always considered food as one of the great equalizers. Kind of like, uh, you know, music. Music is one. Culture is another. Like tradition, things that really bring people together. Uh, it's I feel like it's just something that brings people from every different background, every different culture, religion, belief, whatever. Food is the great equalizer. It brings everyone together. We all come to the same table to eat. And it's hard to talk any hate with a mouthful of food, right?
it's true. You might choke.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that my wife's a speech pathologist, so she'll tell you, don't talk with your mouth full. They'll choke.
I haven't. I mean, I'm sure I choked when I was a kid, but I'm always talking with my mouth full. I feel like.
Oh, Sam, I'm terrible about it. I try to have manners,
But I don't
but
speak my lips. That's annoying. Oh,
you
like,
don't. No, sorry, I didn't catch
smack
that.
my lips.
Smack them. Yeah. I
Uh,
I have a friend who, when he chews, like you can hear his teeth, even
um,
with his mouth closed, you can still hear it, and it's like, ugh, stop it, cut it out. Like,
it reminds me of even like chewing. Like you ever eat chips and you're like, this is way too loud. Like in my head. Maybe that's
so
the introvertness.
it's hilarious because I try and like not chew with my mouth open, but generally when I do chew with my mouth open, it's eating like the loudest foods. I think I have a soft mouth. Like my palate is too soft, right? So if I eat like Captain Crunch, shred my entire top of my mouth. So I'm always like, gotta keep it open.
You ever get like a versus when you eat like it's usually like a tortilla chip, I feel like. Get like that shard. Like
Yes.
oh.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I both am happy that I'm not the only one, but also deeply sorry because I know the pain. It's like literally a knife,
Yeah.
a tortilla knife stabbing you in the gum line. Yes. Oh, No way. I'll take the dentist prodding me in the gums every day over that. That hurts.
That hurts.
At
That
least thing.
makes your eyes water. You feel it in your nose. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like here I am. Shame on me for just trying to enjoy a nice snack and all of a sudden getting daggered in the mouth. But
yep. Dagger in
you know,
your mouth and you don't know what you're doing. You bite your tongue. Next thing you know,
I did. I bit my tongue the other day, and I bit my cheek too. So that's always the worst. It's always like your first thought is like, ouch, that hurt. Then you're like, am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? No, I'm not bleeding. Why does this hurt so bad? Every time.
Or those like, I mean, I'm probably gonna be weird now. You know those? They're like the dangly things under your tongue.
Yeah. So like way back.
No, like it's almost like right here.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Do you ever bite one of those?
First off, how?
I don't really know. I don't know how I do it, but that is worse than the tortilla chip. I think like it must be when I'm like trying to get something like over here and I move my tongue that way and then it lifts everything up. But that is one of the worst pain.
I've never done that, but I have had them like, I don't know, like get annoyed basically. Like if I'm dehydrated or something, I'll just keep fiddling with them because it feels like my mouth is dry and I'm trying to get, some more saliva. And yeah, that's the worst because then it's just, I don't know, it feels like you have like a road rash on your bottom of your tongue. It's like, and then you get a canker sore on your tongue from fiddling with your mouth so much. I've had that happen too. It's the worst. The worst. So did you ever get COVID? Question.
Oh man, I've told this story a couple times on the podcast, so I'll keep it short. But basically, my last trip was coming when it started in March, coming in from Thailand. Didn't feel so good, and basically didn't have all the testing stuff set up yet. So I went to the hospital. They didn't really know what to do with me. They said I was there for like 3 hours in a decontamination shower, and they basically said like, if it's not strep or influenza, like we'll send it to the CDC for testing. Both of those came out negative, but they never sent out the sample. So I don't know.
Did you get the like I guess the side effects per se of like the loss of taste and smell and things like that?
Yeah, and I was just like, I was sick for like two weeks or something, but it was like I didn't, and it was so hard to like be sick. And then I was really nervous because I figured at the time I was teaching pastry at Sur La Table, and living in Florida, a lot of my clients are like older, so I was like, I'll probably be fine, but like I can't go into work because they might die,
Right.
So and I actually had been following the virus before America was like, oh, I think we should do something because it's going international all the time. And so I was just like, that didn't work out. But then the next, like that week, I think that was like the beginning of the week. By the end of the week, like everything was set up and everything, but it was just such a pain in the ass because then the next week I lost both my jobs, and then I also had like a $300 bill from the hospital for going to the emergency room, and I was like, this is ridiculous, But yeah, and then like recently, a couple months back, my boyfriend got it. He tested positive, and I didn't feel that good, but I got tested. I was negative, but I had like lost I was sick for a day and I lost like my taste and everything. So I don't know.
Did it come back?
I think maybe that might have been like a booster shot for me. But then after, like the end of May, I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, mainly because it was just one dose and not the I mean, like, I know there's a lot of people that are wary about vaccines, but and don't trust the government. I'm not saying I trust the government because I don't.
I definitely don't either, to be honest. Like, yeah, I mean, I I'm gonna like not be the first test subject, let's wait a year. But here's the thing.
Yeah, I waited a while, but the Johnson and Johnson isn't. It's not the mRNA one,
Right.
which is like a recent technology. So I felt like maybe a little more comfortable. I know that people had blood clots and stuff, but it was like reading the research, like more women get. It was all women, and they were I think they were all
Right.
women. Um, and but like the statistic wise, it was like less risky than like being on birth control. So I was like,
Yeah.
uh,
So my thing is like I'm not opposed to vaccines by any means, but if you really like look at the science behind it, like it's basically designed to prevent hospitalization. But I also had COVID, and so if you've already had it, your
yeah, but
body
you've
has
already
a
had it. I
defense system. So it's like
exactly, but I
it's
also know
necessary.
that because I want to go fly again and everything, I know they're going to require a
Sure.
vaccine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I'm fine with that. But I got to say, my reaction to the vaccine, I was like not feeling good.
Well, I believe that. So yeah, what my main
But
I guess question was like how long did you not have your taste and smell for?
it was for the unknown, like the unknown first round of maybe the coronavirus. It was like it was like a week, but also you know people don't realize that like there's a lot of different sicknesses like
Right.
viruses that will
Right.
also dampen your taste and
Sure.
smell. It's just like a normal thing. But I gotta say, when my boyfriend was positive and I didn't feel good, we had both not had our taste or smell, and I was eating the which I found out the next day. I made pesto from the garden and everything. I couldn't taste it. Threw a bunch of red onions on it. Was just eating it, couldn't taste it. The next day, like when I woke up, I was like, what the fuck is that smell? Those onions were like, they were ready to go. They were so sharp and like, I was like, I can't believe I was eating this.
That's crazy. So
Wrong.
I lost my sense of taste and smell for probably 6 months.
Oh my God. I didn't hear about that, but like,
I mean, it was like, and that's a huge thing to me because, like I said, I'm a foodie. I love to eat, and things
was
just
it
did.
like altered or?
Okay, so for at least 2 months, my smell was completely gone. Completely gone. Could not smell a single thing. Like my friend, he smokes cigarettes, and I would get in his car, and generally it's like, oh, it's like an ashtray in here, but it couldn't tell. Nothing, nothing. And 60% of taste is smell. Like your olfactory nerves. I mean, I'm sure you know this, being in the food field, but
Listening might not know.
yeah. So it's 60% of your taste is smell. Like you could literally go get a box of fruity pebbles and plug your nose and put some fruity pebbles in your mouth, and they'll literally taste like cardboard because you don't get that aroma from them, which you can't get the taste. So I literally went 6 months or so with very little appetite. I was eating very little. Nothing tasted good to me. And then my smell started coming back, which it's not the same. It's still not the same. Like the cologne that I use, which I really liked, I couldn't tell you what it is because I'm not like a cologne guy really, but I really like the smell of it. And now to me, it smells stale. I can't, like, it really doesn't smell very good, which is funny because I'll put it on still and other people will be like, you smell good. And I'm like, thanks. I guess my own body odor smelled really weird to me, right? Like, I don't know how to explain it really. It just smelled foreign.
That happens when you're sick too, because a lot of things people don't realize about smell is like smell keeps us from getting sick and getting poisoned.
Right.
So if you look like you don't smell good to other people, because it's like, watch out, this person might be sick.
Right.
And it's something that's like invisible, you know?
Yeah.
So
It was very interesting. Like my body odor just smelled different to me, and it still kind of does, to be honest. It's just the strangest thing.
I think the probably the closest experience I've had to that kind of thing where it's like different is actually my like first couple weeks of culinary school. I was recovering from getting my tonsils out.
Oh, rough.
And when you get your tonsils out, like your tonsils sit on top of the back of your tongue, so it's actually covering a lot of the taste buds. And one of the things is that your taste is going to be different. So it took like a couple weeks, maybe like a month before my taste went back to normal. And I would eat like sweet things and they would taste sour. And I would eat like salty things and they would taste like a steak, like umami. It was
That's
crazy.
that's interesting. That's so cool. Like the human body is amazing, to be honest. Like some of the things that happen and can happen are just off the wall. You wouldn't believe it until you have it happen to you. But I, yeah, that's really cool.
And I was just like, how am I going to pass these tests because everything tastes weird?
I,
So I had a lot of classmates help me out, like, "Hey, taste this. It's too salty." Like, so, but it was a that was a crazy experience because I was also eating so many new things that I was like, I got to try this again when I can taste things how they're supposed to taste, you know?
yeah, that's crazy. Ooh, fun fact. You mentioned macaroons earlier. I've never had one.
No,
Never.
not
Never.
even like the Jewish ones, like the coconut ones.
Nope. Never had one. I really want to try one. And so here's the thing. I have it so worked up in my head now that I'm scared to just like go to like the actual like a big box store like a Walmart or a Kroger's or something to get one. Like I feel like I need the perfect one because I feel like I have this expectation built up in my head, and if it's not right, it's just going to be devastating to me. So
I
gotta find the perfect macaroon or macaron. How do you say it? They're two different things, right? There's a macaron and a macaroon.
Yeah, the macarons are the ones that French people say macaron because they speak French. And the macaroon is just an American trying to say macaron and not
Oh,
sound pompous.
learn
But
something new.
there's different kinds of macaroons. You know, you could say macaron, macaron. You know what I mean? Like people just put the accent on there, and I'm like,
Sacre bleu, right?
I don't speak French. Like I'm not gonna try to, you know, I'm not trying to butcher your language because you know, I feel like when people say like Macron, like without having that like French accent, it doesn't sound right.
That like grr, they have like that grr to their
Yeah,
voice.
and that like I guess I don't know if it's rolling
Glottal,
real
like
hard.
very far back in your throat, kind of like a glottal sound. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't.
Oh, I can do it.
Like I can't do it. It just sounds like I'm making fun of a French person, which is I'm trying not to do, you know. But there's the cookie one where it's like a sandwich cookie, and then
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's more than just these two, but then there's like the coconut macaroons that are, it's basically like a meringue with coconut folded in, and sometimes they're like dipped in chocolate.
Okay. See, I'm picturing like the cookie
Yeah, the
style.
cookie one is just it's a meringue that basically has powdered sugar and almond flour folded in, and then you pipe out the cookies, and then you fill it with, buttercream or whatever you want. But actually, the original ones didn't have a filling, and when you would take them out of the oven, you would like steam them off the. They used to use like these super. They're thin. I think they might be like cast iron. They're very heavy sheet pans, and they use them because they're super flat and they don't bend. Whereas like the aluminum pans, they bend.
Yeah.
And so like the first chef I worked for used to make them. He was old school French chef, so he used to make them old school. And you would steam them, and you had like about a minute to like size them up and stick them together before like they would dry out and they wouldn't stick together. And there was no filling because the shell, like the cookie was its own kind of filling because the shell's like hard and crisp, and then like the center is like kind of chewy and gooey because it's not dried out all the way. And that steam makes it stick together. So like the original ones were like that, but now with manufacturing and also like just being trendy, you add the flavors in the ganache and buttercream, and some people put like lemon curd and stuff in. So
Well, I'm
like
getting hungry just talking about it, to be honest. I need to find one. I really just need to find one. It
in
just,
Kansas, there's got to be. I mean, I feel like I was just in Tennessee, and there was like, I mean, the barbecue was good. There was a good Mexican spot. I didn't see any bakeries actually where I was. I didn't really like explore Nashville too much. We were in like the outskirts, but there's always a good bakery somewhere.
I'm sure there's quite a few bakeries in Wichita. I service most of their machines, and so I should know which ones have them and which ones don't. Shame on me for not, but
I mean, which ones sound French? You know, that's probably the one that has one.
none, none, not a single one.
They're all pie shop.
I follow several people on Instagram who just they look like they make some amazing macarons. So
Would you consider trying to make them?
oh, you put me in this position, and now I feel like I have to. Maybe I should. I think that would be pretty fun. But I'm so, like I said, I'm a little like maybe not scared, but like I really don't know anything about baking. So
I
I
mean,
need.
definitely. It's not as advanced as people make it out to be, but you just have to understand the chemistry of meringue, basically.
Right.
So it's one of those things like when you do it the first time it's going to come out probably, but then like you do it probably like your third time and you'll be good. I mean, I used to teach macaroon class at Sur La Table, and they did it like there's different types of meringue. So there's Swiss meringue, which I talked about the bowl and blow torching it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on a double boiler. So for a Swiss meringue, I would put the egg whites and the sugar in a double boiler and dissolve the sugar until I couldn't feel it anymore. And then I would take out the bowl and put it back in the mixer, whip it up to make the meringue. For a French meringue, you're not cooking the egg whites or anything. You're just like starting to whip them up and dumping in the sugar. And that's like the weakest meringue. So I don't, that's the one they use to make macaroons, which you can still do. And then you have the strongest meringue, which of course is the Italian meringue. The
Yeah.
Italian stallion. So, and it's the strongest because you cook the sugar to softball stage, and then you have to put that. It's the most dangerous. That's why we didn't do it in the kitchen because I can't, have my eye on everyone all the time, and liquid hot sugar, not good. So you have the mixer, you put it on the 10th speed, high speed, start whipping those egg whites. All the time in all the meringues, you can add a pinch of like acid, so cream of tartar or lemon juice to make the egg whites congeal quicker.
Okay.
And then while that starts frothing up, you have to pour the liquid hot sugar down the side. So if you go too far in the middle and you hit the whisk, not good. If you go too much on the side, it'll like stick to the bowl as it starts to cool. So you have to be careful with that. You're better off having it stick to the bowl than like spin into your face, obviously. So that whips up and that makes such like a tight marshmallowy meringue that it's very strong. So that's the one that most people use now with macaroons. And also when you make that meringue and then you wind up folding in the nuts and the sugar, the powdered sugar, you have to wait for it to get this skin on it, which comes from the cornstarch and the powdered sugar. and most people won't wait. And they throw it in the oven, and then their macarons don't rise because the gas just goes right out the top because there's no cornstarch barrier to lift it up. So one of the benefits with the Italian meringue is that usually it forms that skin a lot quicker, and sometimes you don't even have to wait that long. So,
Huh.
because you could wait like half an hour or more hours, especially in like I'm in Florida, it's humid. Like you got to put that right in front of the air conditioning vent so it dries out. So
Well, that's interesting. You know what's funny though is like you could have been lying to me that whole time and I wouldn't have known the difference. I mean, like that's how little I know. I'm like, yeah, all right, that sounds good. I like it, but no, I trust you. You definitely sound like you are a master of your craft. You sound very educated in the food science field, which is great.
I mean, I hope so. Well, a little bit.
How many years now have you been, I guess, in the culinary field then?
I mean, from my first job working in the kitchen, because I start before like my formal training, I've been working in professional kitchens since I was 14. So I'm 30 now. So 16 years. And
Very
then
cool.
went straight to, pastry school. But like I did a lot of like, as a kid, I did a lot of stuff that most 14-year-olds in a kitchen don't get to do just because it was a friend of a friend's shop or, like, like, it'll be fine, like.
As a 14-year-old, I did a lot of things that most people should not do ever. I was hell on wheels. I probably should have gotten a lot more trouble than I did. I was stupid enough to do it, smart enough to not get caught. And that was my saving grace, to be honest. I mean, I never did anything so bad. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't do anything so crazy. But let's just say I had a lot of fun. And luckily, like I'll be 30 this year as well. So the best thing is like we just made that cutoff to where like even in our teens, cell phones were really not like huge mainstream. I mean, they were, but like the camera quality wasn't that great. We got away with a lot more crap than you can now. Now everybody's got high definition.
So much crap. Like, I can tell like stories that people don't like. It would never happen. Like, but I mean, there's a trade-off. I feel like you have so much more access to like learning shit because of the internet, but at the same, and also like as a kid, if I was a kid, like a high schooler now, I'd be like starting my brand like right now. And like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like,
100%, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy how much the times have changed. Like to think about what we've witnessed as far as like technological advances from our childhood until now. Like
we had to learn a new technology like every 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Like I think for like people our age, one of the things that is going to be an advantage is even people younger than us, they don't have the knowledge when it comes to like mechanical things.
No, absolutely. So that's one thing that I have definitely noticed. Just like, I don't know, maybe critical thinking isn't the right. Maybe it is the right term.
That is the right term.
Like, and it kind of sounds bad. Like, I'm not trying to be mean to them, but they just grew up in a completely different time. Everything is instant gratification at their fingertips, and it's
well, we were lucky. We missed like probably I feel like maybe like we were 5 years ahead of everything, like being super geared towards standardized testing.
right.
When I was, going through the school system, there was a lot of pushback against this standardized testing and how it wasn't going to teach people how to think. And
right.
So for the longest time they had, multiple choice, but like almost half your test, especially like with math or, English, it was like these like paragraph long, like
yeah
thinking questions to make sure like you knew it and you weren't just memorizing it. And like, how did you get there was a big thing. Like
Sure, yeah.
you didn't always get the question completely wrong. If you could explain how you got there, they'd be like, oh, well, you got this, this, and this right, and then you took a wrong turn here.
Right.
So I think that we're missing that a lot, and just
Yeah.
because like
I
you didn't have to, you as soon as like the iPhone came out, like you didn't have to even like you had that, or the iPod rather, right?
right.
You didn't have to figure out how to fix a scratch CD or rewind a cassette tape or a VHS. Like you didn't, people just put
The old toothpaste on the toothpaste on the CD trick, gotta.
Yeah, or the clear nail polish. Tried that.
I never did that. I always did toothpaste. Toothpaste worked really well.
It worked. I never tried.
Yeah, you're right. Like it's just crazy to see that. And I now have like this unhealthy relationship, I suppose, with technology, or not technology, but like the internet, because I really have like a thirst for knowledge all the time. And if I think about something, I'm like, how does that work? Oh, how do you do that? Or how does that work? I'll be like, boop, instantly in my phone, like, okay, how does this work? How does this work? It's borderline unhealthy. Like sometimes I'm like, I just need to throw this phone out the window and go back to.
And especially, but I love it because I hate it when you're like back in the day, like you used to have to debate things and you would like get in a fight with your friend over like, who.
Now you can prove it.
Who like, I would say Oprah's 50. I'd be like, nah, she's 48. And you'd be talking about it for like 2 weeks until like someone came on Entertainment Tonight and it was like her birthday, Next time it was her birthday, you'd find out how old she was. Like now you just Google it and you see I told you so, like.
I mean, like kids these days, I sound so old. Kids these days, they'll never understand. Like, they don't have to go to the library and check out a book or look at an encyclopedia to find information. Like, that was the weirdest thing. Like, information is so easily accessible now. So it blows my mind that
books, though. I gotta go with books.
I used to read. I used to be like a very avid reader. I read just about anything. I'm really big into like fantasy fiction. Like I obviously.
I couldn't tell by the Star Wars and the TARDIS.
yeah, for sure. Like I was really in like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it's called the Shannara series. It's a very, very good series.
Did Netflix just come out with a movie?
So MTV produced it, and it was okay. I didn't really feel like it did the books justice, but. What movies really?
I didn't see it. I just like saw the title. Yeah, the movie. Yeah. I mean, have you read Ready Player One?
Yes, I did. Well, I listened to the book on tape while on a road trip, so I didn't actually read it, but very good. I really enjoyed it, and then I saw the movie. Terrible.
Exactly, and they changed like the whole story.
The entire plot line. Yeah, I agree. I wish they just would have made it into a 3-part movie. And
I know, that's how they make more money anyway. I'm like, why?
Yeah, right. It just blows my mind that they didn't do that, but I don't know. I started Ready Player 2.
I know there was a Ready Player 2.
Yeah, he just came out with it like a couple months ago. The second book in the series dropped, but I didn't make it very far, and I actually kind of set it down and I completely forgot about it until just now. So
that means it's probably not that good.
Well, again, it was audio book. I don't have time.
I like audiobooks. I have like a lot of science audiobooks that like I know if I would try to read it, I'd probably fall asleep.
Right.
There was one called Lifespan from Dr. David Sinclair that was talking about like genetics and how they're kind of like, that's kind of how I figured out like, oh, I should probably like when I get more money in my life and like extra fun money, let's call it fuck you money.
Yeah, fuck you money, yeah.
Then I'm going to definitely buy some stock in some genetic editing, like CRISPR and whatnot. But like those kinds of books, I think they're really interesting. But like, I just sit there. I used to read them when I was flying. We had like I would do like these 10, 12-hour flights. So
Right.
you do the first, like the dinner service was like about 2 hours, and like the end service and like the breakfast service or whatever was like 2 hours. So you had like the 6 hour period in between that if you had a good senior flight manager person, you would they would take it and they would split the crew in half, and you'd have like a 3 hour period where you could go up in the bunks and either take a nap or
Oh, cool.
recharge your extrovert battery because that was like needed. Like sometimes I couldn't even sleep, but I just was like, I need to get. It's basically like it's like a little coffin, like it's a bunk
Yeah.
curtain, and yeah. So I would read like these sciencey textbook things that I would just like 2 minutes, I'd be asleep. But it was interesting stuff, and I started listening to them. But then it's really important to take a nap when you're on the plane like that. So
Oh,
I had to
absolutely.
stop listening to them because I was just so interested in what they were talking about. So I really liked listening to Trevor Noah has a book out about like growing up in South Africa, and it's really funny because he's a comedian. So,
Yeah.
but it's interesting too.
I'll have to check that out. Like I said, I I'm at that weird point where it's like, man, I really like to read. I should start reading more. But like, I've kind of replaced all of my like, I guess novels. I don't read novels anymore. I do a lot more of like researching specific things. So I still do a lot of reading. It's just not so much like story driven or pertaining to someone. It's more of information about certain, whether
I
it
feel
be
like
machine.
if it's information like that, I'd want to listen to it if it's a book. But when it's like a novel, then I want to read it.
Yes. Yeah, no, it does because the imagination really it can take you places. That's why I like to read. I have a very big imagination, and so like you can basically immerse yourself in a completely different world. Like it's nice, it really is.
So you're a big Doctor Who fan? Are you a Whovian?
Uh, I like Doctor Who. I really liked the first couple seasons, and I liked the David Tennant.
That's
Like,
it. That's the best one.
yeah, it is. It is. After that, it kind of just dropped off for me. I don't really get into like the old school stuff, but I love the David Tennant series. Um, let's see. I watch a lot of like Stargate. I've seen all of the Stargates.
Oh my God. I don't know like when it came out on TV, but when I watched when the first time it came out on Netflix, Stargate Atlantis,
My favorite.
I remember I saw Jason Momoa in that. I was like, that guy's gonna be a superstar.
I actually forgot that he was in it because I watched it when it first came out, and which had to have been 15 years ago, 18 years ago, 20 years ago. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it, and obviously I know who Jason Momoa is,
Yeah.
and I just recently watched it again, probably like 3 or 4 months ago. I watched through the series again, and I was like, oh shit, that's Jason Momoa. Like I forgot he was in this. So I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, I've seen all of those. I mean, really, I watch a lot. I have a very like diverse entertainment catalog. I watch a lot of like anime. I'll watch tons of different anime.
God. I was just watching. I'm not like huge into anime, but because to me a lot of it is it's just like too much stimulation almost with the like it's like I can't watch a lot of it at a time. But my boyfriend was he introduced me to this series called The House Husband.
Yes, I just watched that. That's hilarious.
Oh my God, I was dying. I thought it was so funny. And,
Uh,
um, But he was trying to show me the guy who wrote that has some other one with like I don't know what it's called, but they have like the Fooly Cooly with the like like embarrassing the little kid with like like mushy stuff or whatever, like the sex
That's
stuff. And
that's too funny.
it was so funny. Oh my
There
god.
are a lot. There are a lot of good animes out there. Some of them I don't get into. Some of them I get. I probably watch more anime than any grown man should like admit to watch because I really like that was part of like whenever I was a paramedic, I was stuck at a station for 24 hours a day, right?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
wasn't running calls 24/7. I kind of lived out in the middle of BFE, right? Like just a little tiny town, maybe like 15,000 people. There were days where, I would maybe run like 5 or 6 calls. And then there were days where I didn't do anything. So for 24 hours straight, I'm just stuck in a room. And so I watched a lot of stuff. And so I've basically seen almost every anime, almost every TV series. Yeah, it's crazy.
I always when I was a kid, the anime was always Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z.
That's what got everyone into anime.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually, funny story. I got hit by a car because I was so excited to get home and watch Dragon Ball Z because I was obviously had to fight my brothers for the TV, and I ran out.
Talk about old. You had to fight someone for a TV? Why
Yeah,
can't you watch it on your phone?
yeah, psych. I also had to make my mom get off. She was watching her daytime soaps, Days of Our Lives. So I had to be like, Mom, get off the TV. I want to watch some Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, I ran out in the street and got smoked by a car. Literally, like I got ran over. They ran me over with the front tire, hit the
Oh my
brake,
god.
skidded, and when the car came to a stop, the back tire was resting on my leg, completely fractured my tib fib. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I spent almost every summer. I told you I was hell on wheels. I spent almost every single summer in a cast. I'm not kidding. I've broken both my arms, both my legs, both my wrists, one of my ankles. I broke my. Check this out. I jumped over a stack of pillows. Right, we were having a competition to see who can jump over the pillows the highest. I jumped over a stack of pillows, and when I landed, my big toe was the first thing that hit the ground, and it caught the carpet. And literally, this is my big toe. These are my little toes. It was sticking out 90 degrees from the rest of my foot. Completely snapped it off to the side. I have been abused. I'm a walking shell of a man at this point. Like I've just been beat to death. But
I mean, I used to fight people and I haven't gotten that injured.
oh yeah, I've been just beat up.
That's funny.
I live a little bit slower now. You start to get old and you realize that falling down isn't as fun as it once was, if it ever was. But
You're like, oh, I should probably stick around for a while.
if I roll out of bed the wrong way, I'm like, ugh, this doesn't feel right. So yeah, I gotta make sure I stretch now. I'm not the young man that I once was, although I act like it still. But hopefully, I never grow out of that.
Nah, hopefully not, because that's how you get old.
Yeah, exactly. You're only as old as you think.
Yeah.
Old as you act. That's right. That's what they say.
So speaking of being old, and being 30, I feel like when I was a kid, like 30, didn't look this good. That sounds kind of conceited, but I feel like people that were 30 when we were kids, they look like what the 60-year-olds look like now.
Right. I'm not really sure. So both of my parents are like really young, I guess young looking, very active and outgoing and things like that. And so they never really, and they still don't seem like old to me. Like my dad's like 56, 57, and he's like, I don't know, he's just like still really active. He looks young. Like people thought we were brothers. Like we'll go to garage sales together. Like, oh, is this your brother? And I'm like, you calling me old or him young? Like, what's going on? But no, I see what you're saying though. Like some people, yes. Some people, no. I think it really depends on, like what you do for a living, like how much you beat yourself up, whether you smoke and don't smoke, that can add a lot to that as well. Back in the
Yeah,
back in the 80s, everyone smoked.
that's true.
Everyone, smoking didn't like
And they
stop being
drink a
a thing.
lot. They drink
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
They drink like every day. Like this is normal.
Oh, yeah, seriously. And
Times a
so
day. I was like, whoa.
I think that was part of it for sure. But you're right. I think now though, it's like
And I'm
people
not
really,
even talking about like people I see every day, you know what I mean? But like when I look at like if I watch like TVs, like TV stuff from like the 80s, and then that person is supposed to be like, like 30. I'm like, whoa. And then like you see like a newer thing that comes out, and you're like, how old was that actor when they did that? Like they look so rough. Like it's crazy. But I mean, we have better stuff now,
yeah,
you know.
I don't really know, to be honest. I think that obviously, I think people are going to start living longer, obviously, as we get more technologically advanced and advance more like our healthcare fields and science fields and things like that. But like, we didn't have to get up at the crack of dawn and go plow a field, right? Like we don't abuse our bodies as much. I mean, the human body is literally just a machine, and the more you use it, the faster it's going to break down. We've had the luxury of having pretty easy lives compared to the generations before us. I mean, yeah.
A lot of that has to do with vaccines too, you know?
Yeah. No, that's true. Some of it, for sure, for sure.
And
But
a lot of things actually, a lot of advancements. My grandma actually had she survived smallpox when she was little.
really
Yeah.
interesting. Both of my parents have the shot on their arm. You can see like the smallpox shot scar.
Wow. Is that polio?
No, what is it? Polio? It might be polio. I thought it was smallpox. No, I don't know.
I mean, your parents, I think they would be a little bit young. I don't know when smallpox was eradicated. One of those big moments that we were arguing about for 2 weeks if we didn't have the internet.
I can tell you, Google it.
Google it. But the like I feel like when my mom's a nurse practitioner, so she's always talking about diseases and stuff. So she like when she was a kid, like the big epidemic was polio. So I'm assuming because we're around, we're the same age basically, like your parents. My mom's like, actually, that's a bad idea. I'm not gonna say how old my mom is on the podcast because she'll kill me. um, ready? Oh, 1980. It was eliminated. So like the last case was done. So probably a few years before that, like it was rare to have a case.
Right.
So that's interesting. So yeah, it probably was polio then.
Maybe so. I'm not certain. I honestly, I'm kind of I'm having a little bit of brain fog. I don't think I've eaten today, so I'm getting to the point where I'm like, oh. My wife left a little bit ago. She went to a brewery to go have some drinks with her friends, and so.
Nice. Mommy's day out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go join her here in a little bit though. So that's my plan anyways. Maybe it's like a pizza place. It's called the Wichita Brewing Company, and they have some decent beers. They have some decent food too. So I'm gonna go dig in on some of that for sure. But,
all right, well, I'll hold you up. It's great having you on the show.
It's been a complete pleasure. I think we're a lot alike. I really enjoyed our conversation. We should definitely keep in touch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want you to come back on, especially when you get the paint shop up and running. And
hey, I would be more than happy any time.
Because I think we're gonna have to do a collab where you paint one of my mixer. I have a white mixer, so I feel like I don't know if that matters, but I feel like it's a canvas, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We can, like I said, we'll be able to do whatever you want with it. If you can dream it, we can do it.
All right, I'll think about
Maybe,
it.
maybe. If it's too intricate, maybe. I mean, like solid colors, definitely. Maybe like we have had some people ask if we could do like, you know, like pride flags and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I think we would be able to do like the top part of it a certain color and then a different color here and then a different color on the base. So yeah, I think we'd be,
like designs, like paintings yet.
I'm not a paint. I'm not artistic at all. So I would not be able to do anything like that.
What about, is there a way to, like if you have your thing that you want, because it goes into an oven, right?
Right.
So, because I'm not thinking like the whole mixer, I'm thinking about like the top part that comes off,
Right.
you know, like to put your design or whatever, and then like put a clear coat of some sort on and like fire it that way.
So they have like a high temperature, like silicone tape. So what you could do potentially is like make a design with the tape and then spray your powder coating on there, bake it, pull it back out, cover the spots that you have painted, spray that whatever color you want, and then put it back in and then bake that. That might work. Like I said, we're going to have to fiddle around with it a little bit to find out like the full extent of our capabilities with it. But soon,
Yeah,
very soon.
I gotta
Very
figure.
soon.
I'm gonna look up. It's the what is it called? Powdered something?
Powder coating.
Powder coating. You know what it sounds like, which you're probably not gonna know about. When you get French tips on your nails, they put it in like a powder thing, and then they like now I think they put it under like a UV light or something. But that's what it sounds like. But I'm gonna look into it because I'm a nerd too.
It's actually pretty interesting to see what they can do with it and how it actually works because it's not paint. Like when you think of paint in like a traditional sense, it is not paint. It is literally a powder and you spray it through a gun that like ionizes it, electrically charges it to stick to whatever surface you want it to stick to. And then when you bake it, that's when it like bonds and turns into like that glossy paint. It's very interesting to see because yeah, it really is just like a powdery substance before.
Definitely. I'm about to go on a rabbit hole.
You should. It's really
You're going to be drinking out of your brewery. I'm going to be watching thousands of videos on powder coating.
I'm probably going to come back in like 2 hours and I'm just going to see you still on the video here. Your hair in a mess, like typing on your laptop. Like, oh.
All right. Well, thanks for watching Chef Grace's Place. If you're interested in getting your mixer fixed or the turn on a dime, no?
Ever dime.
Well, obviously go subscribe to Mr. Mixer's channel because it's great. And then check out mrmixer.store. All the links will be in the description. And also try to include a link to the ice cream mist because
yes,
it's a cool book. All right. So see you
well,
next
Grace, it was such a pleasure. Like, thank you for having me on. I hope everyone enjoyed.
I mean, I had a good time. So
Me too.
All right. See you next time.
Toodaloo.